Welcome, everybody. This is your host, Ellen Nicholas, speaking to you once again on a topic that has to do with pleasure. Today's topic is a very sensitive one. It's about anal intercourse. Anal intercourse is very, very different than any other kind of intercourse, and so I'd like to break it down for you. So essentially, the body has several different openings that can be used for penetration. And though we essentially assign the vagina in the word intercourse for vagina, any place where there is a channel and a person can enter is a place where one can have intercourse. That's why oral sex is sort of intercourse, anal sex is sort of intercourse, and so is vaginal sex. Now, what's the difference between these three? Well, they're pretty obvious, but let's just go through it. The vagina is actually the prime area for penetration, and when excited adequately, it produces lots and lots of its own natural lubrication. So it is the place that is specifically meant for penetration because that is where procreation starts. And without vaginas, there would be none of us. So that's the one place that it's just the most natural place to go. The second place that's very, very popular is oral sex. Now, oral sex has lots of saliva, especially if you're not taking any kind of medications or if you're using any kind of an edible. There can be lots of sliding, gliding with oral sex. The anus does not make very much lubrication at all. In fact, it makes very, very little. And the lubrication that it makes is always for downward movement of anything that is in that area. It's always a down and out kind of a process. So if you have a really, really good diet and you've added a lot of oils, good oils to your diet, you might have a little bit more of a softer stool, but that doesn't mean that the anus is producing copious amounts of lubrication. It's not. So it's really, really important to understand that the anus has to be treated completely differently than the vagina or than the mouth when it comes to penetration. Now, the anus has an excellent sphincter control, and we want that because if we didn't have good sphincter control, there would be things falling out of our body, which would not be good. But if it is relaxed and if it is opened up, it can actually accept penetration. So most of the time, the action that is associated is down and out, but under certain conditions, there can be in as well. So the anus has a lot of sensitivity. And for men in particular, it has a prostate. And the prostate runs along the rectal wall. So for anal penetration and rubbing of the prostate, it's where his second orgasm can happen. And I know a lot of religions and people have all kinds of hesitations about anal penetration, but that's what the church did to it. I mean, really, any place that can bring joy, any place that can bring satisfaction, any place that can bring erotic stimulation for both partners is game. Of course, if just one person wants it and the other person doesn't, then that's rape. And, whether it's, okay or not with one, if it's not okay with the other, then it's not good. So one of the things that's really important about the anus is that it needs to be emptied out. Nobody can be comfortable if their anus is going to be penetrated if they are backed up. So it's really important to make sure you evacuate completely that day, especially if you're planning on having any kind of anal play. You don't want any unpleasant surprises. Some people like enemas. I think it's a little extreme to use an enema, but to each his own. I just think if you poop once or twice that day, you'll be fine. Now, since the anus doesn't make very much lubrication at all, when you are preparing for this, it is really important to have all your tools handy. And one of the most important tools is a good anal lubricant. Some anal lubricants actually have a desensitizing agent to them as well. And I'm not really sure how I feel about that, because if the person who is giving feels like, well, this person is slightly desensitized, so I can go for it, they can actually rip the other person. So don't allow the fact that there's any kind of a desensitizing agent in the lubricant to give you permission to be rough, because you can seriously hurt someone if you are rough in that area. So in preparation for anal play, relaxation is the key. And I would recommend a wonderful massage of the entire buttocks area, a kneading and a pressing and a massaging, so that the person can relax. Some people like to use alcohol as a way to help the other person relax. And that can be done, but you have to make sure that you're not using so much lubrication, so much alcohol, that the recipient passes out, because that's unethical. That's just wrong. And you want to have fun for both of you. The one person who is allowing this kind of a penetration is trusting you completely with one of the most sensitive areas of their body. And so you really don't want to do wrong by them, because that will definitely cause trust issues in all areas of the relationship. So it really does take time to massage and to relax the area. Now, there is a technique, it's called the 5-finger opening, and you're going to use all 5 fingers. So after the buttocks has been rubbed and massaged and the person is really relaxed, and you could even include that massage to shoulders and back, etc., you take a latex glove, or any kind of a glove. If the person's allergic to latex, there's nitrile gloves also, and lubricate the fingers really, really well on the outside of the glove. I think it's really important to use a glove, because then you're not worried about any kind of surprises on your fingers, under your nails. And also, your fingernails could very, very easily irritate the very sensitive lining of the rectum. So you don't want to do that. So that's why it's a good idea to kind of smooth those fingers out with a glove. And if you have very, very long nails, this isn't for you. You can't put very, very long nails inside the rectum. It will cut that person. So if you want to do this, then whoever is going to be the person that is doing it, short nails are essential. I know it's not popular these days. Everybody wants to have really long nails, but not for this kind of activity. So you lubricate all 5 fingers, and then you take the smallest finger and you go in. Now, the smallest finger is the pinky. And as you can see, the pinky is a whole lot smaller than anything that would be coming out of that area. So when you put the lubricated pinky in, you just kind of gently moving it back and forth, and paying attention to what the recipient is saying or feeling. And so you're gently, gently reminding the rectum that it has stretched to this capacity before, and it can stretch to this capacity again. So once that becomes very easy and the person has relaxed around your finger, then you withdraw that one. The second finger is the ring finger that's going to go in. It's a little bit wider, and again, very slowly in. You're wearing these gloves, they're well lubricated. It also goes in, same kind of action of back and forth. And again, it's a reminder to the rectum, because all your body parts know what to do. And if they've gone through an activity before, they'll remember what they're doing that when that activity happens again. So the fact that you want your rectum to open up and to relax, you're doing it by very small increments by using 5 fingers, one at a time. The third finger is the pointer. Again, same kind of relaxation. The fourth is the thumb. The thumb is not as large, so it can actually, or I should say as long, but it's a little wider than the others. So now you're getting major stretching because of the thumb. It's still not as large as what can come out of that area. And the final finger is the middle finger, the index finger. So once you have gone through the 5 fingers, the rectum should be relaxed enough for penetration. And, let's hope that the fellow that is going to be very, very slowly with lots of lubrication entering inside that prepared and relaxed rectum is small to medium in size. Because that's something that the anus can accept easily, because it's experienced those girths before. Now, if the fellow is 1 3/4 inches or wider, then he needs to take it very easy, or maybe he should just reconsider the whole thing, because 1 3/4 inches is very, very wide. And some guys are even 2 inches long, wide. That is way, way too big for a female's rectum. Maybe for men, I don't know, because I'm not a man, but for women, that is really, really big. And it's not a girth that she's ever had to deal with before. So it's not such a good idea to try to plow in with a penis that's 1 3/4 inches wide or larger, because you can seriously damage someone, rip them, and ruin them for life. You don't want to ruin your love. You want to have them enjoy what you're doing. You want that closeness, that intimacy that comes from this trust that you're allowing a person to be that close and inside of you to the forbidden area. So you have to really take it easy. If you're not careful, you seriously can hurt the female in particular. And that's not making love. That's physical abuse, regardless of how much you want it and how much she wants you to have it. If you're going to damage her, it's not a good idea. So I hope that you found this information important and interesting and informative. You cannot go by what you see in porn movies as technique for anal penetration, because porn does not show you all the fluffing, that's what they call it, the fluffing that goes on before the actual penetration. There's a lot of stimulation and opening up before all of those scenes where they're plunging in and out of the anus. So obviously that's not part of the movie, the preparation. So preparation is key, and do not go to pornography unless it's instructional videos for any kind of porn technique. Next week, we're going to talk about creative imagination and using toys and tools. Please visit my website, yourpleasure.com. Write me questions. I'd love to answer them. This is your host, Ellen Nicholas, sensuality consultant, author, and proponent of pleasure in your life today and always. Thank you so much for joining me. Hope to see you again next week. Same time, same station. Namaste, and do your Kegels. Thanks so much for joining me. See you next week.